Hello and welcome from Melbourne, a track modified since we last raced here in Albert Park, and I think with the changes, it's going to be a classic. Here we are then at the Albert Park circuit, 3.28 miles of bumpy city streets, but not a lot in the way of elevation changes. The circuit goes all the way around the lake, taking in 14 corners. Note the DRS zones into turns 1, 3 and 13. They'll offer our drivers a number of good opportunities to overtake.
Okay, so here we go, APPF1 Tier 1 Australian Grand Prix. Here is our starting grid order. FMR going to be starting on pole. Gold starting just alongside him there in second. Poorly Orange will be starting third on the grid. Life starting fourth. Chris starts fifth. We got FaZe starting sixth. A pretty good attempt at getting a pretty good lap at the end of the session for him. Rick barely got that lap in as well at the end. Seventh for him on the start. Eatmedas will start 8th. Bumblebee starting 9th. We got Deadman starting 10th. Womax will start 11th. 12th for MX. And then, of course, West they're starting 13th. 14 for Mahiti, 15 for Tino, 16 for Blair, 17 for Manier at the moment. And that's going to be a starting grid order. We head straight into the race session here now. Okay, so here we go, the 5 red lines, the start of the Australian Grand Prix here in the wet. Seems to be a pretty good start so far. Let's see who gets a better run on to turn 1. FMR, of course, on the left. Got Ghost on the right-hand side. Let's see how they get into turn 1. Try to take it a bit easy as far as you can see. Let's see the rest of the grid getting through so far. Looks like the Haas gets into third and keeps it there. That's Orange at the moment, trying to hold that position. Down at the back of the grid there, we might have some problems. A Red Bull getting into the wall up just a bit. Might have taken maybe some minor damage, of course. In front we got Ghost and Orange fighting for second place. Trying to hold that life in fourth. Trying to follow on with them. Maybe trying to keep his himself into P4, doesn't want to fight them too much for positions right now on that start, but he's kept his position going pretty good so far. Let's have a look at position changes if we can. 10 position changes for Tino's here. He got an excellent start. He's up 10 positions from the start of this race. Not even sure how he pulled that off, but we'll keep an eye on him in the rest of the race and see what happens. Either way, a pretty good start from the top 4, holding their positions up on the opening lap. We think we have a full safety car though, or something's happened on track. We know we had a bit of chaos happen on that opening 3 turns there. Nothing major as far as we can tell, but I think some drivers did take quite a bit of damage. I think it's a virtual safety car, not a full safety car right now. Yep, it is a virtual safety car, which means this is going to be over pretty quickly. They're just going to clear off the debris on track before we get back around to that portion of the track. Yeah, so that should be cleared up pretty quickly. So at the moment as it is, we go FMR still continues on in the lead where he started. Ghost still second, Orange still third, Life still fourth. Tino somehow got up 10 positions. He's up to P5. Chris is down in position. Eatmedas is up 1. Rick down 1. Deadman up into 9th. MX up 2 positions. They're FaZe down by 5. Womax down by 1. Mahiti, he's I think gained 1 so far. Of course, it's a full wet start here out of Australia. We'll see how the rest of the grid gets on through this. We're back racing again into lap 2. Sorry, going into turn 1. Gaps are pretty close up between most of the drivers there. FMR gets away pretty well out in front though in the lead, and he's going to hold that for the moment. Up by 2 seconds already as far as we can see. Orange now only a 10th behind the McLaren, and he's going to try for a move. Actually holds it on through, doesn't want to risk it in the wet here, as these tires of course still not pulling enough grip as they probably would expect here on track. Let's see if the rain is going to ease up at any point in the session so we can possibly switch over to the intermediates. Maybe getting to the dry tires down at the end of the race. We'll see if that's going to happen or not. Either way, at the moment, it's going pretty well here for the start of this Australian Grand Prix. Gonna bring a few things online as you know, everyone's running on the full wet. Oh, we do have a few drivers starting on the intermediate. Now that is a bit interesting. Didn't even know that happened. Let's have a quick look at Chris here, who's on the intermediates right now in that Red Bull and running. I think he was one of the drivers that have some problems on that opening lap going into the barriers on the side. Not sure if he took any damage on the car, but he still kept this going. The Mercedes of Rick in 7th, following along behind him. Let's see how close the gap is going to be at the end of this lap, because it's closing in, I believe it is. I want to see if those intermediates are working better for him or not, and doesn't look like it is. Or is it at this point, because he's catching up to the Aston Martin of Tino's in front of him, trying to get a gap to get by right now before we get into lap 3. So it could be, did these 3 drivers get it right and the entire grid got it wrong on that opening lap there? Or is it just at a point with the rain on track, where it's just evenly distributed between these wets and these intermediates in terms of what the grip level is and how fast they can go on these tires right now. Of course, we know the intermediates, they can do faster lap times on them, but there just has to be the correct amount of water on the track, or the intensity of the rain that determines how much water that set of tires is going to displace to just get enough grip against the wets, which most of the cars are on right now. He's still stuck in the same position he is, following on behind Tino's, hasn't got ahead. Rick now 1.2 seconds behind, which we're trying to see is there going to be some sort of advantage with that there at the moment. I think we'll probably leave tires on for the moment and follow on through this and see wherever it's going to take us. Out in front though, let's follow on again. 4.2 seconds is where the lead is between FMR and Ghost. I think Ghost having his own problems right now. We're hitting out to the session. We got one driver out of the session. That might just be a full safety car. Let's have a quick look. If it's a VSC or a full safety car, we're not entirely sure as yet. We should be able to tell. Getting it wrong here. And it's a virtual safety car actually. So Muhiti out of the race. I think they've already moved the car off track there. So at the moment as it is, he's out, and we got 16 drivers currently remain in the session. We should get this race back on the way just when we get into lap 4. Right around that time there, so we'll see what's going to happen. But so far so good from the start to this point. It hasn't been a bad opening lap as well. I mean, they had some incidents happen, of course, but no driver was taken out from that opening lap. Looks like Tino's is into the pits there. Is he going to go on to the intermediates? This is going to be interesting. Let's have a quick look at his pit stop here. To the first driver to get into the pits, and he is going to go on to the intermediates. It might just be that transition period for from full wets to intermediates for the rain. The way it is at the moment, we really can't tell. I mean, as we said before, you got to be in the cars, well, on the wheel of these cars, just to know what the grip level on track is, and if it can handle getting on this intermediates or staying on the full wets. At this point in time, it looks like most of our drivers are starting to take some pit stops under the virtual safety car to get onto the intermediates. Out in front though, these guys are going to continue out on those full wets as it is at the moment. A bit dangerous to be taking a pit stop under a safety car, as a virtual safety car that is, as it is right now. The Alpine of FMR continues into the lead. He's 3.7 seconds ahead, running on the full wets against Ghost, whoever is also on the full wets here. So makes it interesting to see that these guys on full wets are still running at full speed on the race compared to those getting onto the intermediates right now and trying to have as much grip as they can. We did see after that pit stop though that Tino's was having some trouble on the intermediates when he did get back out. In terms of trying to keep the car stable, of course, it's going to be hard getting full grip on them as it is there. We got Chris there. Looks like he is only a 10th behind Rick now. Not sure if there's any overtake happening or not. Overtakes, of course, going to be a bit more difficult here in the rain than they are on a dry track. Let's have a look with the rain intensity right now. It doesn't seem to be coming down as much as you would expect here on board with the Alpine, as you can see right now. 4.5 seconds ahead of the McLaren of Ghost, who is followed by Life now, who's currently in third because Orange is into the pits. Orange, I'm quite sure, is now going to go on to the intermediates here. We're going to leave tires on until we see everyone done the switch over to the next set of tires, which means it's going to be the intermediates. Life currently 1.9 seconds behind Ghost at the moment, and yeah, let's see how that gap is going to go between them. Trying to look where Orange is. There is Orange in a P11, and he has actually gone on to the intermediates. So you think we got at least just over half of the grid right now on the intermediate tires. That's a green wall tires that you see there, and the rest of the grid on the full wets at the moment. Of course, we expect it to be the slower tires, but the way conditions are on track, we know our cars out in front are running at a pretty decent pace right now. Chris here in P4, he's on the intermediates, trying to gain some ground on the Ferrari in front of him. Rick in the Mercedes behind in 5th, trying to keep up with him. And looks like he's losing some time out of the 1 second range right now. Of course, no DRS advantage because we do have our wet session on our hands. Let's go on to Deadman here. I think he has a pretty close gap towards Rick right now. I think that gap has just gone away from him pretty quickly. That actually moved away. Orange down here in 10th. Let's have a look what's happening with him. He's following on behind Tino's. both of them on the intermediates right now. You can see that Aston Martin getting a bit twitchy out in front as well. Let's see how much of a gap the Haas driver has on those intermediate tires right now to get into the next lap with him. He seems to be doing pretty well so far. Archer is going to be looking for an overtake against Aston Martin as well. Paddy Eatman does into the pit lane right now as well. He's doing a switch. I think he just went on to the intermediates as well. It's now our top 7 drivers, except for Chris there in that top 7 that are on the full wet still and running. The rest of the grid have all switched to the intermediate tires. We have 3 drivers, I believe, started the race on the intermediates. Let's see if that gamble played off for them. It seems to have been pretty good so far in terms of where we were at the start of the race. Orange with a 3-second penalty for exceeding track limits here. Out of Australia, not going the way he's expected in that account. I'm quite sure he didn't expect to have a penalty there. Gotta be very, very careful. I think he's pushing as much as he can to get past the Aston Martin of Tino's here. Does get past him, still side by side a bit with him though, getting around. And looks like he's up ahead now. He's now going to hold that position there in P8 and follow on through to chase after Bumblebee, of course, out in front of trying to watch the gaps as they are at the moment. MX having a pretty close gap with Blair down at the back of the grid here. So have a look and see how this goes with the next Haas driver. That's Orange's teammate chasing after, I believe it's Alfa Romeo in front of him. Or is that a Ferrari in front of him? Oh, it is a Ferrari in front of him. Chris now getting the fastest lap. He is up into second. Let's have what's happening out in front. I think most of the grid has now taken pit stops. That includes Ghost, who was up into second and running in this race from the start. So we got 2 drivers who have not stopped as yet. Deadman up into third. And of course our race leader there, FMR in the Alpine, he's still running on his full wet tires. Has not done a pit stop as yet. But being Ghost, who was in second, has done his stop. I think he might have to react to that and now take his pit stop. But let's see if that's going to be the case or not. And I'll switch over to the Alpine out in front. We're currently on lap 7 of 29. Battles might not be as we expect here, guys, but this track might start to try out at the halfway point of this racer. So as you can see, the rain has eased off a little bit here on the track, and definitely ready for those intermediates as far as we can tell right now. And majority of the grid, of course, running on the intermediates at the moment. So yeah, we're doing pretty well in that aspect. I'm quite sure FMR might be taking a stop here unless he feels he has quite enough grip on those full wets. Let's have a look. He is going to go into the pits, and yeah, he's going to go into the pits, get those tires off, get onto a set of intermediates right now. Let's see where that puts Ghost though, who's now coming around. Did Ghost get a faster lap in terms of trying to get ahead? He's in sector 3 and coming around right now. We're going to follow on, see, is this going to be Ghost taking over the lead of this race? Did he have any advantage running on the intermediates for his outlap of the pit lane as he now gets around, trying to follow on with where FMR, I think he's already out of the pit, so he's already out and ahead of Ghost by a few seconds at least here. As the McLaren now gets around turn 2 and following on to turn 3. So it's a 5.9 second gap between FMR and Ghost, which you would expect probably Ghost would have probably closed that gap after switching to the intermediates, which is not the case right now. Chris, of course, takes over the lead of this race. He's, I think he's one of the drivers that's been on. Yep, he is one of the drivers that's been on the intermediates from the start of the Grand Prix to this point. As you can see, 7 laps done on those intermediates. So he's kept it on going from lap 1 to lap 8 on the tires he started on, which were the intermediate tires, while the majority of the grid were on those full wets. I gotta say, his strategy has worked out pretty well for him so far. We're gonna follow on with the Ferrari of life now, as he's chasing after Orange at the moment, looking to get an overtake here. Let's see if he's able to get this overtake or not. Chris, of course, getting fastest lap out in front. Separated from him and FMR is 9.4 seconds. Of course, we're going to expect FMR to now start breaking that gap down as he's on the intermediates as well. Escaping around the same time. Let's see what's going to happen. Ghost now gets the fastest lap there at 129.9 in his McLaren. 7 seconds behind the Alpine, who was previously leading the Grand Prix, of course. So not our typical race here today at Australia. Things have changed quite a bit. We started off with a dry qualifying session. We then transitioned to a full wet start on the race. 3 drivers decided to start on the intermediates. The rest of the grid started on the full wets, and I think the advantage goes straight off to Chris here, who's kept it out on those intermediates. He started on MX, and he started on intermediates as well, but he's still down 14th. Didn't gain as much advantage as Chris did. He's now up into the lead though against FMR, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens when the Alpine breaks that gap down, and that could very well happen very quickly if we do have a safety car, a full safety car in this race session, which I think FMR definitely will hope for. But then again, we have Chris has been on those intermediates from lap 1 to this point, which means he will have to take a pit stop in the upcoming laps. It's just a matter of time and when he decides to actually do that. How much laps can he push on these one set of intermediates? They don't last as long as the full wets. So it's much like the soft tires compared to the hards. Soft being intermediates, hards being the full wets. You can look at it in that aspect. And looks like FMR getting the fastest lap in the session, 128.5. He is starting to break the gap down from 8.4 down to 7.1 now in a matter of a lap. So yeah, we're looking at a battle happening for that lead pretty soon. We're on with the Ferrari still off life here. He's still chasing after Orange at the moment. This is of course for P4 at the moment. Will be for P3 once Chris takes his pit stop. But definitely has gone quite interesting in this race session so far. We still got 16 drivers in this. Mahiti, unfortunately, we've lost from the race session. Not entirely sure what happened to him, but I think might have had an incident on track. As you can see though, on the race track here, it's starting to dry out a bit more. The rain now just falling very, very lightly at the moment, light drizzle. So definitely we're looking at a potential dry race ending here, which will definitely make things a bit interesting. Always a lot of fun to watch a race transition from wet to dry, or from dry to wet, or just something in between with the two weather conditions here. But yeah, so far so good. FMR now down to 5 seconds between him and Chris. That chase is on right now. Let's see what's going to happen at the end of it. We're on with FaZe here at the moment in the Red Bull as he chases after Tino's Rick, of course, coming just behind of him. Let's see who's going to close the gap first and who gets past and up into a better position here. Rick trying to close this gap. FaZe having a much better run at this as he's chasing after the Aston Martin. Had a bit of I think a spin there on that final turn. Went a bit on the right hand side a bit too much as he was trying to stabilize the car and get under the power at the same time. That Aston Martin definitely under pressure right now. The Mercedes of Rick, of course, he's chasing so close behind, and I'm quite sure he's going to be trying to get an overtake, or at least follow that Red Bull through for an overtake right now. Out in front, we can see FMR 3.1 seconds, 2.9 seconds even before I finish saying it, behind Chris there. But the gamble did work out for Chris. He's up into the lead. The problem is the strategy he's going to use to stay in that lead. And of course, what works best is a full safety car to keep someone like him in the lead right up at this point where he needs to take a pit stop. It does take a full safety car to keep him in the lead. He is of course going to fall down the order and have to try to work his way back up on board here. As you can see, that rain is must really start to go here pretty soon, so let's keep this going with these three, Tino's, FaZe, and Rick, fighting for P6 at the moment in the session. Okay, so 2:10 gap. So looking at FaZe going on through, still following with his bad. I'm trying to have a look out in front as well. It's a 110 gap right now with the Red Bull and the Aston Martins. Red Bull goes side by side with him. Tino's is going to try to defend this. Around the outside is where FaZe goes, and looks like he gets a position up right now. He's up into 6th place. Tino's is now down to 7. Rick still following on through with the battle here, and he still holds his position there at 8. I'm going to try to follow on with these guys and hopefully get an overtake at some point pretty soon, but let's see how that's going to follow through. Tino is trying to hold his gap at 3/10 behind that Red Bull. How good is it going for him? I really can't say. He's closing the gap right now as the Red Bull is trying to defend. He's going to be forced around the outside. I might have to stay on the racing line for now. Gap out in front between Chris and FMR down to 1.3 seconds. Let's see if the Red Bull can hold his weight on this current lap here. Lap 12 of 29 in this wet Australian Grand Prix. I think I'll let these two follow on maybe in just a bit. We're going to have to switch over to the battle for the lead of the Australian Grand Prix here between Chris and FMR. It looks like FMR team might just be able to get that position away pretty quickly. Broken the gap down from 8.5 seconds down to less than a second in just a number of laps. It's a 3:10 gap between these two, but let's switch it on out in front with the Alpine right now, chasing after the next Red Bull in this race. And does look like he is going to get an easy overtake with this here. He's breaking the gap down so quickly. Lap 13 of 29. As you can see, our gap down to about 3/10 between them. Be heading into the next lap pretty soon. Let's get on board with the Alpine of FMR and see how that chase is developing for him. The Red Bull, of course, not going to be able to afford to make any mistakes at this point here. See, break down to about a 2:10 gap. As here goes the Alpine using the slipstream advantage down that straight as much as he can. He's closing his gap, but just down to 3/10. The Red Bull, of course, trying to defend as much as he can. Let's see how the gap goes into the next straight. It's only a 10th between Rick and Tino's right now as Rick gets past into 7. Tino's down to 8, so that overtake work for him. There goes the Alpine on the inside of the Red Bull. Going to be forced around the outside of the upcoming turn. Let's see if he can get his overtake done. He's pushing through for it, and looks like he does get it done quite easily. And I'm quite sure Chris knows he's not fighting FMR in this race right now. He should have known FMR will be able to get back in the lead pretty easily. He's going to have to take his pit stop, and that's going to cost him, of course, quite a number of positions. So let's see how that works. I think he's still holding up, maybe even a VSC at this point, to take his pit stop. As you can see, he's trying to come back at the Alpine right now. Let's go on board of it for a second here. We got a yellow flag situation somewhere on track. I think it might just be, it's a full safety car, something Chris has been hoping for at this point in the session. We know FMR might be taking a pit stop here as well. Let's have a look if he is, and he is going to take a pit stop. Chris is now going to get into the pit lane as well. I think he's kicking himself. Why did he allow that overtake to happen? If he could have held on to the lead for another 2 laps here, he would have been able to go into the pit lane ahead of FMR and get back out in front of him, and of course then we'll have to hold that lead for the second half of the race, which we have we're into now, as we're now into lap 15. So interesting strategy from Chris as he started on those intermediates. It's worked pretty well for him because he did get his full safety car, which he was hoping for. Now, interestingly enough, you can see there are still some minor adjustments on track. Life has switched onto the medium tires. Later onto the medium. Is the track dry enough for the dry tires right now? Is what we're trying to have a look at. So it's still under the full safety car and going. And we got quite a few drivers who are switching on to the medium tires. Let's have the pit stops to finish off, and then we'll have a look on what we're actually looking at here in terms of strategy with these guys. Okay, so the Ferrari Live having some sort of problems here on this set of tires. As far as we can see, definitely struggling for grip on track. Let's have a look at another driver with the mediums on. I'm not entirely sure if it was the right call to get onto the dry tires here, because we can see the track is still wet. But the problem is that it's still raining on track here. As you can see, yeah, definitely those on those mediums are struggling quite a bit to keep things going as it is right now. He knows here on the mediums as well. Let's have a look at him about it. Looks like APPF1 is back into the pit lane, switching it back again. Or is he now switching on to that? I'm not sure. Let's see what the situation is going to be with Life here. As he gets back into the pit lane, I think he's going back on. Where is he going now? He's switching the front wing and going to a set of hard tires now, which he's going to push all the way to the end of the race. I think what the strategy play here with the drivers going on to the medium tires, they're hoping that by the time the safety car is over, it's going to get dry enough on track for those dry tires to run. And I think they're probably right, because the rain is now stopped. There may be some 1 or 2 drizzles on track, but that's about it. And the track's still going to dry out, of course, relatively quickly for the entire grid to get back going here. As you can see, our orders sorted back now. FMR leading the Grand Prix, still under the safety car, of course. Ghost, of course, now running second again. Chris is now running third, of course, for his wonderful strategy that he had. Deadman running fourth, Orange running fifth, Rick now sixth, APPF1 7, Tino's running 8th, West in 9th, Manny 10th, Life currently 11th, MX in 12th, Bumblebee 13, Wumax in 14, Blair, FaZe, and Mahiti out of this Grand Prix. And of course, we're still running behind the safety car. Ghost has done 9 laps on those intermediates. He hasn't taken a pit stop, or a second pit stop that is. He's only taken 1 pit stop so far. As you can see, our race leader is getting into the pit lane. I'm quite sure that this is going to be a try strategy right now. They're about to go into the dry tires here. The McLaren locking up a bit in the pit lane there, trying to avoid a penalty, and there goes the McLaren, gets on to a set of mediums. FMR gets on to a set of medium. This is going to make things quite a bit interesting. Chris stays out once again on his intermediates, his new intermediates which he has on. He's now going to have to possibly decide, is he going to take a stop going to the right tires here? That track is drying out very, very quickly. By the time we're back racing, I think it's going to be ready for the dry tires, or maybe just need 1 lap more if needed, but I think it's going to be ready for that. So the strategy is going to be interesting here. West on the softs, Bumblebee on the softs. And I'm quite sure they can make it to the end of the race on even the soft tires at this point. So let's see how much of an advantage they're going to get with a race strategy here. Top 3 drivers still on the intermediates, and that includes Orange there, who started at the front of the grid. And of course, he still has that 1 penalty for exceeding track limits. So I'm not sure if he gained any more during the race session. So as it is, guys, we're on lap 17 of 29, and our safety car is going to come in at the end of this lap. So we are about to go green and get back racing. Out in front, I think our top 2 drivers might have some trouble after lap 18. I think they'll make it to lap 17, but they'll have some serious problems into lap 18. Yep, no more water on track for these tires in this place now. They'll have to start looking for it on this lap here. Let's see if they're going to be getting into the pit lane to change the tires off though, because it's still gonna cost them either way, because the entire grid is about to get going here. Okay, guys, here we go. About to get into lap 18. Let's have a look at the restarter on with 8 Dust at the moment, currently running 4th. Chris running in the lead at the moment, out in front. He gets away pretty well. Deadman chasing after him, trying to overtake into turn 1. Top 3 fighting for positions. Still on those intermediates who still have just a bit of grip to work for it here. 8 Dust in the medium tires, running in P14, just behind him. FR running in 6 right now. He's trying to get ahead of the Aston Martin, and looks like he might try it on the inside. Does he get the move done though? Looks like he goes up into P5. That is Tino's down to 6. He's going to chase after the LP and trying to see if he can get back to position or not. Out in front, Orange at 210 gap towards Deadman for second. Let's see if he's able to get the overtake at this point or not. So far so good on that restart though. We got West and Bumblebee both on the soft tires, running in 10th and 11th on the grid. But of course trying to gain as much of an advantage as they can on those faster tires there. Out in front, Orange is now up a position. He's up into 2nd place in this race. Still on these intermediates. Let's see for how much longer they can push on them. It's still a bit cloudy. Still some patches of wet on the track, of course. So it still has the intermediates running pretty well. Decently well. Let's see how well the car control is once they start to lose grip on this set of tires here. They're trying to push for a few laps, I think, before doing a pit stop. We're going to go down to Ghost here, and Rick, of course, chasing after him. And they're chasing after Eatman Does there, just ahead of them. Tino's in front of that there in P5. FMR running in P4, ahead by 2 seconds of Tino's there. So he's trying to distance himself from the rest of the grid as they get on through this. There goes the McLaren up into 6th right now, so Eatman Does down a position. So yeah, Cole's going to try to follow on through Tino's. Of course, he's trying to follow on through with FMR at the moment to try at least to finish 2nd in this race if he can. Out in front, our top trend intermediates still running. A bit of contact between the Mercedes and the Williams there. That's Rick and Eatman Does at the moment. West running a close position behind that. He's up into 9th right now. 1.3 second gap. Let's see how that's going to work for him. Heading through, we're trying to follow on with these guys here. Chris out in front leading by 2.1 seconds. His patches of wet will start to go away in just a bit. We still got just around 10.5 laps to finish off the Australian Grand Prix, so I don't think with the rain now stopped that these intermediates will last. They're going to have to do a stop, especially Deadman there. 11 laps on his intermediates. You see the McLaren now right up to the rear of Tino's. Of course, going to look for an advantage here. Orange into the pit lane right now. I want to see if he's going to be doing a switch onto the tries or not, because I'm quite sure he is as he gets in there. Let's see where he comes back out on track though. Chris and Deadman still out on track. Still have stayed out, and they are now running P1, P2. That's Chris and Deadman respectively. Orange, of course, has now gone on to the soft tires here. Going to try for some advantage when he gets out here for his run now. As he's 3.1 seconds behind. Actually a bit further behind. He's not behind Bumblebee now. Only by 3/10 though, so he's going to have some advantage to gain there. As we head through on lap 20 of 29. So on the Mercedes of Rick, currently running 6th. Not a bad position to finish his race in. No penalties, so he has 2 drivers in front of him with penalties. Ghost, of course, being one of those drivers, so he's looking for an overtake. The track is now dry. I highly doubt those intermediates are working well out in front. We'll see those 2 drivers currently take a stop in just a bit there. Got purple sectors coming off these guys with the mediums right now. That's Rick getting a purple sector 2 there. In the McLaren of Ghost, of course, we can see him trying to get past Tino's out in front, so I'm going to switch on to him. See if that advantage is going to work or not. West running in behind 8 That's 1.3 seconds. 3 cars in the midst running on those softs. Orange being one of them, running P10. Deadman in the pits, Chris in the pits. FMR takes over back the lead of the Australian Grand Prix. Let's see who's going to 2nd. That's going to be Tino's up into 2nd right now. 5.9 seconds down from his time there, though. Ghost, third place in this race at the moment. He's trying to get back up with the second right where he started. If he can't win the race, he's going to want to finish in the position he started in, which is higher up, of course. Mercedes of Rick, of course, chasing close fourth here. Lost a bit of that time there. Of course, we should have, I guess, DRS come online in just a bit, or if he didn't already. As we see, Tito's gaining 13 positions in this race so far. But he's gained the most. There goes Ghost side by side with Aston Martin, gets around on the outside. He definitely has the position. Rick was trying for a move on the outside, got blocked off by Tino's there, so he was going to push back through again. He's going to try for one more move, I think, going down the start finish straight. He's doing a pretty good job so far, closing the gap on the Aston Martin. He's currently running 14th in this race. Once he get up into a podium position here, which seems quite possible. Let's have a look on board with the Mercedes. He's going to take it into turn one on the inside. He might be too close. He doesn't risk it. Gets back onto the racing line. Now Bart goes around on the inside, well, on the outside, as it will be into the next turn here. He might have to outbrake Tino's on this one. Let's see how it's going to work through. He pushes side by side, and the inside to the next turn might give him the advantage he needs. Just to the side by side going on this, and a bit of tussle between them. There goes Tino's trying to keep the Mercedes behind, having such a difficult time holding him back right now. The Red Bull of Chris catching up to these guys here, so they have to be careful not to lose the position to the Red Bull, who's now side by side with the Mercedes, and he's trying to get ahead. It's like he is still fighting out for P4 at the moment. Let's see who's going to have the right line here to hold their positions in case something does go wrong. Something does go wrong. The Red Bull having to go a bit off track there, still keeps it going though. P6 for him, as these two are still side by side and fighting here, as we'll end up into the next lap pretty soon, and they've been at it since about lap 20, going for that position. And there goes Rick. He's up into third, finally up into that podium position he so desperately wanted to get here. And oh, we got someone off at the back. That's Poorly Orange off track. I'm not sure if he had contact with someone. I just saw when he went off track there. He might have had contact with another car, or did he just lose the car? Either way, I think he had a full safety car for that incident there. Let's have a look. Is it a full safety car or not? As far as I can tell, it's a full safety car at the moment. Life having a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Not going too well for him. Penalties as we have it. We're on lap 23 of 29, and our race leader is currently with a penalty, as well as Ghost there in second. Rick running in third is going to want to keep this guy back close as possible to possibly take away second place from Ghost. As far as it comes to with FMR, it's a close call, but of course the safety car is going to change things now. Let's see what's going to happen in that case. Let's have a look at the penalties as we're on it here. So it's a 3-second penalty for FMR. Ghost having 6 seconds. That's going to put Rick up into second place pretty easily. Of course, he's going to be a bit worried about getting ahead of FMR. Needs to keep his gap within 5 seconds of that car to try and get that done, or hope that the Alpine driver takes another penalty in this race. So as we have it, guys, so Rick into the lead of this race now after the change up with the safety car here. Rick is into the lead. West is now running second. Ghost is now running third. Ethan Dust running in fourth. FMR took his pit stop. He's onto the fresh tires and the soft tires, but he's running in fifth. I think Ghost just went into the pit lane. He did. Rick goes into the pit lane. Ghost goes in. They're of course going to be losing quite a bit of positions here. So they're risking track position here to get into pit lane and then get back out. Of course, this puts them down to the back of the grid right now with positions. Let's see if that's going to be an advantage to them or not, because Ghost is down to 10th, Break down to 11th, and they might start to lose more positions here if Life and Bumblebee get past them on the pit lane, which I don't think they will. Life is coming around there. He might be able to get past the Mercedes, which he does, and comes up pretty close ahead actually of the Ferrari. Did he? No, he did not. Sorry, he is behind the Ferrari. The Ghost now running 10th, Rick running 12th, where they stand a much better chance of holding out. As we have it here, we're on lap 25. West has held this out right now. So the Alpine driver holding out 8 laps on his soft tires at the moment, and he's going to hold out on this. He is not going to take a pit stop at this point here. He's going to finish the final 4 laps of this race on that set of tires and hope that he can hold up the rest of the grid there. Eatman does currently second on the grid. FMR currently third. Fresh soft tires, and he has the most advantage in our top 3 here. I'm quite sure he's going to try to get past both of them. Either way, that's going to put West down to second. Eatman does down to third. They're both still on the podium here because Deadman 4 laps on his soft tires. Tino's is on fresh soft tires. So this is just really hard to see what's going to happen at the end of this race section already. Getting a bit too excited, thinking about let's see what's going to happen as we get back to the restart and hopefully into the next lap. But oh, there we go. So yeah, the safety car is going to be in at the end of this lap here. I think West was holding 1 more lap for the safety car, and that's going to give him enough time to hold out the rest of the grid here and possibly take a win at Australia, which I think would have been something quite exciting for him. But let's see if he will be excited enough to actually try to keep that car on the podium position for the finish of this race. Eatman does going to be a close third for him if he can. As we get back restarted here right now, the Alpine tries to extend his lead out in front. His teammate running in third, going to try to get back into the lead, so they're working together on this. It might be Team Orders that play it here, but I think they're going to be allowing FMR to get back into the lead pretty quickly, because I don't think West has the pace right now on his older tires to hold that lead. So his teammate now behind him. It's a 1-2 right now in this race for Alpine. Let's see if they can keep this going all the way through to the end of the race. Quite exciting for them. West, of course, letting his teammate go by very easily. Doesn't lose track position himself here. Just losing 1 position to give his teammate out in front into the lead, where he is, of course, going to continue on through, extend the gap, and possibly finish on pole here at Australia. West running a close second. Eatman does behind of him. 10 laps on the mediums. He's going to have to hold. He can keep that car at bay. But we got Tino's on the fresh soft tires. He's coming around the turn there, getting into third place. He's going to challenge the Alpine now if he can. Eatman does is down to 4th. Chris trying to get ahead. He's up into 4th. Eatman does down to 5th right now. Those mediums not working for him as well as the soft tires on the rest of the grid here. So West is still holding on to 2nd place. His teammate, who he let go ahead, is now keeping the lead, 1.5 seconds ahead of him. Tino's comes in with a 10th of a gap right now. He's trying to close the gap as much as he can. He is going to be looking at getting ahead here. Let's see how well this is working for him. There goes the Aston Martin side by side right now with the Alpine into turn 1. How is that gap going to work for him? The Alpine driver trying to hold this on through. He's going to be a bit desperate trying to hold it through. The Red Bull looks like he's getting away as well. Both cars now get ahead of West here. The soft tires on 10 laps on them. Just not enough to keep both cars on fresher tires at bay here. So FMR continues in the lead. Tina's running 2nd. Chris running 3rd. West now still running in 4th. So still not a bad position for him, but he might be looking at losing another position against Deadman, who is trying to challenge him for a P4 at the moment. MX running close position behind that in 6th. Eatman does down to 7th. Rick now goes into 7th. Eatman does down another position. Those mediums are pushing him down the grid more and more at the moment. Got cars a bit bunched up here in this instance at the moment. Deadman running a 10th behind West. He's trying to get ahead. Has a pretty good go. There's usually the slipstream advantage. He might just be able to do this. Out in front, they keep their positions as it is right now. We know FMR has that penalty, but he is already 3.9 seconds ahead of Tino, so he's going to be able to keep his race win, provided he doesn't take another 3-second penalty for exceeding track limits here. West holding his own in P4. He's going to push through for this, getting into lap 28 now. Has 2 full laps to keep that car in P4. We know he's not going to possibly be able to get back into a podium place here. Would have been excited to see both our teams on the podium for this race here. Unfortunately, that's not going to be happening as far as we can tell. Chris, a close gap with him, and Tino's there. That was, of course, for P2. Quite a few cars finally behind West right now. We got Deadman, MX, Rick, and Life, as well as Eat My Dust, Rumax, Ghost, and Bumblebee. I think every other car running in a train behind that Alpine and trying to get by right now. Deadman is the first one to try and do this. MX and Rick coming so close behind. It's going to be quite interesting to see how much positions West might be losing if he loses this P4 right now. He's holding it on true. We're going to be entering into the final lap pretty soon. He needs to hold it just a bit more here. The Mercedes gets ahead of Deadman. He's up into 5th place. Deadman down to 6th. Rick is now going to challenge the Alpine as he tries to go along on the outside of the of West and hopefully get that position up if he can. He's up into 4th. He holds it right now. The Alpine loses position 1 by 1 here as it's getting a bit crazy in the midfield of the grid here for spots right now. I think he had some minor contact there for a second, and the Alpine trying to hold his position side by side with the Williams right now. Let's see what's happening as we get on through. So as the order stands, FMR still leads the race. Tino's in 2nd, Chris down to 3rd, Rick now running up in 4th, MX running in 5th, Life in 6th, Deadman 7th, Rumax in 8th, Ethan Dust in 9th, Manny 10th, Ghost 10th, sorry, Manny down into 11th, West all the way down to 12th from 4th. That's how crazy it got there. Bumblebee running 13th at the moment, and into the final lap of the Australian Grand Prix we now go to see who else is going to gain an advantage. That was one of the craziest penultimate lap I think we've seen here on stream on IG8Live Esports. Either way, Deadman now being chased by Rumax, side by side actually with Rumax as he's trying to get by. Looks like man is retired from the session. Down to 12 drivers on the final lap to finish up this race. We'll switch over to FMR in just a second to see him get across the line after this if we can. Actually, let's switch that on just right now. Let's have a look at penalties if we can go into the final sector here right now. So FMR, of course, qualified on pole, started the race right on pole, kept that lead going on through, lost it for quite a few laps during pit stop rotations. He's now getting across the line here, of course, and taking a win at Australia. Not a bad finish for him. Tino's coming to get 2nd place on the podium, and there we have Chris. He finishes across the line for 3rd place on the podium here. Rick finishing 4th. Let's see how the order changes. MX will finish 5th, Rumax in 6th, Life gets across the line for 7th. We got Deadman in 8th, Even Does in 9th, and West, unfortunate for him, gonna finish 10th after running P4, and I was trying to hold it through, but the tires just won't help. Goes across the line for 11th. Bumblebee, our final driver in the AlphaTauri to get across the line here for the Australian Grand Prix, and that's going to be P12 for him. That was a heck of a race to watch, guys. Are used to Bumblebee going so slow. I think he might have run out of fuel or something. Either way, guys, that is the race session there for you. Australian Grand Prix here with APPF1 Tier 1. Quite an exciting race session, especially that final 2 laps. Driver of the day there is for Tino's gained a lot of positions in this race. Alright guys, here we go. So APPF1 Tier 1 drivers here for the Australian Grand Prix. We had a dry qualifying, we had a wet race start, and then transition over to a dry race down at the end. We had FMR, of course, taking pole on this race. Tino's finishing 2nd on the podium, Chris 3rd on the podium, Rick finishing 4th in the Mercedes, MX in 5th, Rumax finishing 6th, 7th for Life, got Deadman in 8th, 9th for Eat My Dust, 10th there for West, 11th for Ghost, Bumblebee 12, Manny 13, Orange there 14th, and then of course we got 15 for Blair, 16 for FaZe and 17 for Mahiti there at the moment. That is the results there for for the Australian Grand Prix, guys. So quite an interesting race session. Join us for our next stream, which should be tomorrow, guys. Yeah, we have another stream tomorrow with Evolution Online Racing. Not sure what track is gonna be. I even forgot what track is gonna be. I think it's in our Discord. Though. Join our Discord, guys. Link should be in the chat somewhere. If not, shouldn't be hard to find. Yeah, join the Discord. You should have information on what race we're gonna have streamed tomorrow. Anyway, guys, thanks for everyone who joined us here live on the session for this Australian Grand Prix. Make sure you guys are, of course, following us here on Twitch. And yep, we'll see you guys in the next commentary stream. Unfortunate for that result, but still was a good race session. Was a good battle, true for it.